Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. It is time for another Spooktober true crime video yet again, and today we will be talking about the Salem witch trials. Our story takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, when a weird yet slightly terrifying phenomenon started to affect the young women in the area. A well known minister's teenage daughter and niece suddenly began showing odd symptoms: severe convulsions, muscle spasms, and even hallucinations, all seemingly out of nowhere. And instead of thinking that this was some sort of illness or disease, the minister was quick to come up with the conclusion that this had something to do with witchcraft. Not long after, even more girls in town started showing the same symptoms, and this made the situation a whole lot worse. Instead of trying to figure out the actual cause of this or trying to find a cure, these young women were instead diagnosed with the same thing: bewitchment. These assumptions were mostly made by Catholic men who were under the influence of a man named Cotton Mathers, who spread misinformation in Salem. And along with this misinformation, terror and fear also began to spread. People started to turn on their neighbors, accusing one another of being a witch. However, most of those accused were women. The first woman who was accused of doing some sort of black magic was a woman named Tuba, who was actually the slave of the minister whose daughter and niece got ill. The minister and other men in Salem made nasty accusations of Tuba performing black magic or witchcraft on these young women because she was jealous of them and because the minister didn't treat her well. And it wouldn't take long before Tuba actually admitted to being a witch. However, it is still not known if this was actually true or if she was just pressured into confessing in hopes to putting a stop to this madness. However, her confession just roped in even more women into this matter, and they were being accused left and right. And those who did not agree with these trials had no choice but to keep their mouths shut, because if they voiced out their opinions and showed any sign of opposition, they too would be accused of being a witch. And here's the bizarre thing: to prove that someone has been bewitched, the townspeople would then make witch cake that contained the rye and the urine of the person showing symptoms of bewitchment. This would then be fed to a dog, and if the dog starts showing the same symptoms, this would then be considered as proof that the person has been bewitched. From 1962 to 1963, a total of 200 people were accused of being involved in witchcraft and performing black magic in order to harm others. 20 of those witches were all hanged except for one man, who was crushed to death with using the weight of large stones that were piled on top of him until he could no longer breathe. The executions are suspected to have been conducted in a place in Salem called Gallows Hill, where people were hung from a tree, almost as if they were being displayed for all the townspeople to see, in a last attempt to humiliate them. Up until today, no one really knows what caused these hallucinations, convulsions, and spasms, but one thing's for sure: it wasn't witchcraft. It's more likely to be an unknown disease, or even mass hysteria. That is pretty much all the information that I have for you guys for today's story. I know this was a short one, but man, those were crazy, crazy times. Imagine if you were alive during those days. You could just accuse anyone of being involved in witchcraft or being involved in performing some black magic, even though you don't really have concrete proof or concrete evidence or even any type of basis to. You could accuse anyone just because you didn't like them and they would be tried and possibly hanged. God. I'm so happy that we now have proper proceedings and laws in order to sort things out. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys found that interesting, and I will see you guys on my next video.